Okay, Doug and Trish here from Iowa State University. We did a video a while back on the stay apparatus of the hind limb, the reciprocal and stay apparatus, and then we've been working through models and ideas on the thoracic limb or the forelimb. So one thing that I've heard, I drew this out. I've got a model I'll show you in a minute, but this is a little more clear to see. One explanation that I had heard of the stay apparatus of the forelimb, this is your triceps brachii muscle right here. It attaches to this Elkernon process, which is part of the ulna. And one idea that I had heard is that this muscle is a higher fibrous content, and tension is held on the triceps brachii, and as it pulls up on that Elkernon process, it pulls the knee back into extension. I don't think that's what's going on. There's not a consensus among books is what we're finding. So there's lots of different books that have different anatomical structures named. What we think is happening here is that actually the forelimb is requiring less muscular activity to maintain stability or a locked position than the hind limb, and it all comes down to this up here, which is the biceps brachii muscle. And so remember that the difference between the forelimb and the hind limb, the forelimb is attached to the axial skeleton or the horse through a synsarcosis joint, and that's made up of the serratus ventralis. So that's a muscle that fans upward off of the scapula, going up the neck of the horse, and then also goes back kind of on an angle towards the rear of the horse and attaches to the rib cage. So the horse is suspended from the scapula. Farriers often refer to this as the thoracic sling. But that weight of the horse is pulling downward on the scapula. It's a constant tension being held there, which wants to pull downward on the scapula. So as that's being pulled downward, you can see how this biceps brachii is going to pull these three joints into extension. And what's unique about the biceps brachii is it has a tendon that courses all the way through it, and then a small muscle belly that's right here, kind of at the end of the humerus. That runs down then and is attached to the extensor carpi radialis by the lacertus fibrosus. So that then, the extensor carpi radialis attaches just distal of the carpus and then attaches up here at the distal end of the humerus. So it has some added pull given by the biceps brachii. So as that's pulling straight up, it's also aiding and pulling the knee back into extension. And then we all know that down here at the bottom we have the sesamoid ligaments below that help stabilize the pastern, and then the suspensory ligament as well. I was drawing a blank, but I think two more structures that aid in pulling the knee back into extension then would be your deep digital flexor tendon and your superficial flexor tendon. And the only reason those two are going to aid is because they both have check ligaments, the inferior or subcarpal check ligament of the deep digital flexor tendon and the superior check ligament of the superficial flexor tendon. So as weight from the horse is being pushed into the fetlock, it's creating tension on those tendons, which causes check ligaments. Thanks, Trish. Yeah, Trish takes care of me. These check ligaments then pull the knee back into extension. So what we did is we wanted to make a model with the least amount of structures possible to see what's working, right? So this model, you can see I didn't bother with anything down here because this is already stabilized by the sesamoid ligaments and the suspensory ligament. So this has a knee joint. It doesn't have two. I didn't think it was necessary, but we have a knee, we have a scapulohumeral joint, humeral radial joint, and then this has our biceps brachii, lacertus fibrosus, and our extensor carpi radialis. And then in the back we have our deep digital flexor tendon. Here is the in the yellow, and then our superficial digital flexor tendon and the 2 check ligaments that are associated with those. So then what we have up here, this bungee cord, for the sake of the model, this is the weight of the horse pulling downward via the serratus ventralis, right? So if you look, if I let go of this, it's all going to fall, nothing is locked. If I then apply tension to this is the weight of the horse just coming down, and it's on the medial side. Once we hook that up, this is taut and in a solid locked position. So I think those are the main structures associated with it, and I think that the forelimb is actually taking less muscle activation or tension to stay in a locked position than the hind limb. And part of the reason that I think that is because if you observe horses, they often rest with one foot cocked on the hind limb. And so there's tension being held on the vastus medialis to hold the patella in a locked position. As that becomes fatigued, they switch legs and lock the other. But we don't see them do it on the forelimb. If you look at a horse on the forelimb, both knees are pulled back into extension, and they seem to be relaxed with both forelimbs locked. So that's a kind of, so I know there's some limitations with models. There's lots of different opinions on what structures attribute to this. There's also flexor carpi ulnaris in the back, as well as ulnaris lateralis, which they could contribute as well. I didn't put them on the model, and without them the model seems to work, but they might actually be a component of it as well. So anyway, that's kind of a simple explanation of how these horses are able to rest or spend 80% of their time standing. So hope you've enjoyed it, and feel free to comment. Thank you.